Straight ahead on Law&Crime Daily. Investigators go inside the fireplace where prosecutors say Chandler Halderson burned his parents' bodies.
It smells like barbecued pork oftentimes, or the grease that you would get from barbecuing a pork shoulder.
And the Murdaugh Murder Mystery. Will the disgraced South Carolina attorney be granted a lower bond? Plus, nearly 4 years after the Parkland School shooting, accused shooter Nikolas Cruz is set to be sentenced for the crime. But first, the Wisconsin man who purchased a gun for Kyle Rittenhouse takes a plea deal. What his attorney tells Law&Crime Network. Law&Crime Daily covering court cases from coast to coast. Welcome everyone to Law&Crime Daily. I'm Brian Buckmeyer along with Terry Austin. The friend of Kyle Rittenhouse who bought the then 17-year-old an AR-15 got a deal from prosecutors where felony charges were dropped. Now we're learning how the deal came together. Law&Crime's Anjanette Levy is here with what Dominick Black's attorney is saying. Anjanette?
Brian, Dominick Black faced the possibility of 12 years in prison had he been convicted of those 2 gun charges related to buying Kyle Rittenhouse that AR-15. But Rittenhouse's acquittal and the fact that Judge Schrader dismissed one of the gun charges against him really called into question whether or not Black's case could or would go forward. You may recall that Dominick Black testified for the state against Kyle Rittenhouse at his trial. He said the two of them were like brothers and were together every day for months leading up to the day of the shooting. Black said he bought the AR-15 for Rittenhouse in May of 2020 because Rittenhouse wanted one, but they agreed the weapon would stay at Black's home until Rittenhouse turned 18. Then the two went to downtown Kenosha to help guard a Car Source car lot that night in August of 2020, and Rittenhouse took a medical bag with him as well. That night, Rittenhouse shot 3 people, killing 2 of them and wounding a third. The jury found that Rittenhouse acted in self-defense. Now, Black's attorney, Tony Cotton, talked with me about how he was able to get a deal where his client went from facing 2 felonies and the possibility of prison time to paying a fine and pleading guilty to the equivalent of a citation.
Number one, Dominic did testify. He did the right thing. He was subpoenaed. He honored that subpoena and he testified. The other part of your question, whether Mr. Binger reached out to us or we reached out to him, it's a combination of both. There's a back and forth that really takes place in every criminal case. Here in particular, we needed to wait until the Rittenhouse matter resolved before we could have more substantive discussions about exactly what the contours of any resolution would look like. Once Kyle's case was done, I reached out to Mr. Binger. He reached out to me on other occasions, and we were able to fashion a deal that assured Dominic wouldn't have a criminal record. That was really the most important thing from our perspective, was making sure that he didn't have a criminal record because he has such exceptional opportunities in his life. We didn't want him saddled with a criminal conviction.
Now, Judge Schrader dismissed that gun charge against Kyle Rittenhouse because he said that the length of the barrel of the gun didn't make it illegal to possess for a 17-year-old in the state of Wisconsin. Dominick Black would like to join the Air Force, and it'll be interesting to see if he eventually does so. Brian?
Thanks, Anjanette. Joining us today is criminal defense attorney Adam Conta and Terry Austin. Adam, is this the right outcome for Black? If you were his lawyer, what would you be advising him?
I would have advised him to take that deal as fast as his little legs could have run him to the courthouse to take it. I mean, he's going to walk away. He was facing felonies and 12 years in prison. Realistically, even if he didn't get the 12 years in prison, maybe some. And this walks him out the door. No criminal record, no prison time, no nothing. This is just like an enhanced parking ticket, essentially. Go, take it, get on with your life. That's what I would have told him.
Yeah, deal of a lifetime, especially when you're considering where he started off. Terry, so how does this sentence that Black took work exactly?
Well, it's an automatic. Under this agreement, he's agreed to plea no contest to contributing to the delinquency of a minor. And as everyone has said, this is a non-criminal violation. And Judge Bruce Schrader, he accepted the plea. He imposed just a fine of $2,000. And then he basically dismissed the misdemeanor gun possession charge. Now, essentially, Black has no criminal record. He's initially been charged, as Adam just said, with 2 counts to sell a dangerous weapon. That's all gone. He can go home now. He pays this fine. He has no criminal record, and he hasn't violated any felony statute. So I think it was an excellent deal.
Yeah, no criminal conviction. I know in some states, depending on the level of charge, you can actually have them wiped from your record altogether. I know in New York, it's like disorderly conduct gets sealed after a year. We'll see if that happens here with Mr. Black. And Jeanette, Kenosha DA Thomas Bringer referred to Black buying the weapon as a straw purchase. What does his attorney say about the purchase?
You know, it's interesting because Thomas Binger made that claim again in court during the hearing in which Dominick Black's attorney said he would enter into this plea agreement. He said this was a straw purchase. And Tony Cotton says under the law and under Judge Schrader's ruling, it was not a straw purchase and that he could, you know, essentially legally purchase that gun for Kyle Rittenhouse and that Kyle Rittenhouse was allowed to legally possess it because of the length of the barrel of the gun. So he doesn't believe that Dominick Black engaged in a straw purchase as we know them.
Yeah, I would agree. That's how the law planned out. But it's going to be interesting to see how the legislature in Wisconsin maybe goes back to readjust those numbers for the length of the barrel. We'll see if that still maintains not being a crime in Wisconsin. And in Wisconsin, a man accused of shooting and killing an immigration attorney is facing a more serious charge just 1 week before his trial is set to begin. Theodore Edgecombe is now charged with first-degree intentional homicide after allegedly shooting and killing Jason Clearman last year in Milwaukee in what police call a road rage incident. At the final pretrial hearing Monday, the judge granted the state's request to upgrade Edgecombe's charge from first-degree reckless homicide. The judge also denied the defense's motion to ban the use of the term victim when talking about Clearman, after the judge referred to the Kyle Rittenhouse case where that judge banned the word. Edgecombe is claiming self-defense. The judge said the jury will decide if Clearman was a victim of self-defense or homicide. Prosecutors say the shooting happened in September of 2020 after an argument between the two men on the road. The defendant's defense team argues video footage shows the Clearman car try to run Edgecombe off the road. That video then shows Clearman get out of the car. That's when Edgecombe shot him. Prosecutors say Edgecombe also fled the state. He was arrested 6 months later in Kentucky. Still ahead on Law and Crime Daily, accused Parkland School shooter Nikolas Cruz appears in court weeks before he's set to be sentenced. But first, the latest twists and turns in the so-called Murdaugh Murder Mystery. What a judge rules after the disgraced attorney once again asked for bond to be lowered. Welcome back to Law and Crime Daily. Police say 2 more victims are tied to the so-called shopping cart killer, bringing the serial killer's total to 5 women killed. Investigators say 35-year-old Anthony Robinson met his victims on dating websites and lured them into motels. He later killed them and used shopping carts to move their bodies. In November, he was charged with killing 2 women. Last week, investigators found another woman inside a shopping cart, covered with a blanket. They believe she is Robinson's latest victim. In a press conference, officials say they searched through thousands of paper receipts of an Alexandria, Virginia motel, linking the most recent victim to Robinson. Officials say multiple law enforcement agencies are working on the case.
Robinson is awaiting trial for the murders of 2 women in Harrisonburg, Virginia. He transported the bodies of these women in a shopping cart. We believe he transported at least one of our Fairfax County victims in a shopping cart as well. To learn more about Robinson, we have solicited the support of the FBI's Behavioral Analysis Unit and the FBI's Washington Field Office. We've also partnered with authorities in Robinson's home state of New York and the Harrisonburg, Virginia Police Department. Additionally, we are working on a victimology profile and hoping to get in contact with other women who may have interacted with Robinson.
Investigators say Robinson may have contacted other women via dating apps. They ask anyone with more information to contact the Fairfax County Police Department. On to the latest developments in the Murdaugh Murder Mystery. After a request to lower the bond for disgraced South Carolina attorney Alec Murdaugh, a judge leaves the decision hanging Monday afternoon. The former lawyer faces about 50 charges for alleged financial crimes. Last month, Murdaugh's bond was set at $7 million. A judge decided the 53-year-old would have to pay the full amount to get out on bond, instead of the typical 10%. At a hearing on Monday, Murdaugh's defense and the prosecution called several people to testify about the request to lower bond. One of Murdaugh's former clients, Lieutenant Tommy Moore, told the court that Murdaugh stole $100,000 from him that was meant to pay for medical bills. At the end of the hearing, Judge Allison Lee said she would consider the request and release a written order with her ruling. Murdaugh is accused of stealing more than $6 million from a dozen clients he represented in civil cases. He also faces insurance fraud charges after confessing to hiring a hitman to kill him in an attempt to leave a life insurance payout of $10 million to his son, Buster. Murdaugh is also a person of interest in the double homicide of Murdaugh's wife, Maggie, and son, Paul, from June 2021. Back to break down bond requests are criminal defense attorney Adam Conta and Terry Austin. Terry, what do you imagine the judge's decision will be, and will it get Murdaugh out of jail pending all of these potential trials?
You know, I don't think the judge is going to lower that bond, and I don't think Murdaugh is getting out of jail anytime soon. I mean, just based on the testimony of those victims, it was heart-wrenching. Murdaugh faces dozens of charges, as you said, in connection with multiple clients. And stealing from your client is unconscionable. I mean, as an attorney, you are sworn under an oath to abide by the law, and you have a fiduciary obligation to protect your client. And Murdaugh did just the opposite of that. Not to mention, Brian, he is implicated in the murders of his own wife and son. So I don't think he's going to see the light of day for those reasons. I think the judge is going to decide not to lower that bond.
Yeah, Adam, to Terry's point, I think Murdaugh literally violated every rule of ethic a lawyer could come across. Are there even arguments the defense can make to reduce bail, or is this a lost cause?
Well, it's interesting. The arguments they seem to be making is that he doesn't have any money, but his bond of $7 million is so high. And this is someone, I argue all the time, that bail should be lowered because you can't judge someone's criminal record. It's will they come back to court or not? Well, this is a guy who literally has unknown hidden assets that he stole from clients, has shown that he may commit suicide or just up and leave. I think he's a high flight risk. So any bail reduction at all, I think, is going to be minimal, if any. I think there's no further, more poignant arguments his defense attorneys can make. And I just don't see anything happening that's going to get this guy out of jail.
All right, as the judge says, they will be giving a written order, and when we get that, we'll make sure to give you the update. And this, the Murdaugh Murder Mystery. Coming up on Law&Crime Daily, the jury hears expert testimony as Chandler Halderson stands trial for the murder of his parents. Plus, accused Parkland School shooter Nikolas Cruz is back in court. Why the prosecution requests a delay only a month away from his coming sentencing.
Hi, this is Dan Abrams with exciting news for all of our Law and Crime followers on YouTube. You can now get the live Law and Crime Network with YouTubeTV for all of your daily live trial coverage, legal news, expert analysis, and original true crime programs. Subscribe to YouTubeTV today and then locate Law and Crime in the channel guide. And for only $1.99 a month, you can add the network to your bundle. Watch Law and Crime every day with YouTubeTV. We put you in the jury box.
Welcome back. Tuesday morning, prosecutors asked the judge to delay the penalty phase again for Nikolas Cruz, the man responsible for killing 17 of his classmates and teachers nearly 4 years ago at a high school in Parkland, Florida. On February 14, 2018, Cruz carried out the deadliest school shooting in the country when he opened fire on students and staff at Marjory Stoneman Douglas High School. 17 people died and 17 others were injured. This past October, Cruz pled guilty to 17 counts of first-degree murder and 17 counts of attempted murder. Cruz's penalty phase is set to begin February 21st. His defense team once again said at a hearing Tuesday morning that they will be filing a motion to remove the death penalty from the table. At that hearing, prosecutors said they won't be ready for sentencing, saying that they haven't received enough information from experts who are expected to testify.
We've been ready every time on the guilt phase. We haven't received the material. We can't take their depositions. It's the first time we're ever moving for a continuance. I don't see how we can be ready on the 21st. And the defense, and I understand this, they're still taking depositions of our witnesses.
Well, Mr. Sachs, I don't intend on continuing this case any further out. If we just do jury selection those 3 days a week, so that you all have the Thursday and Friday of those 2 weeks in February, that's fine. But if you think you can't be ready because of something the defense is doing or not doing, then please file a motion, but I'm not continuing it any longer.
Let's bring back criminal defense attorney Adam Conte and co-host Terry Austin to discuss Cruz's sentence. Terry, why the rush? Why do you think the judge isn't giving the lawyers more time?
I love the judge's disposition here. I don't think she should give a continuance. Listen, like you said, it's been nearly 4 years since this mass shooting, and there have been delays already because of COVID. The case has got to get moving. That's what the judge wants to do here, to see the penalty phase get started. She doesn't want to put over again any more delays in this trial. So, the other issue here, Brian, is that these families deserve justice. It's, months since Cruz has pled guilty, and his attorneys have had an opportunity to prepare. They know who the experts are. They can take these depositions, and there's plenty of time. So I agree with the judge. I think she should just keep this moving just to have some consolation for the victims, 17 killed and 17 injured.
Now, Adam, how big of a sentencing hearing do you think this will be? What do you expect with all of these potential experts?
Yeah, this is interesting to me because all we're really talking about here is the death penalty, right? This is just a state where a lot of people really love the death penalty and some people don't. And so that's, why wouldn't this just be, okay, life without parole, done deal. You're going to spend the rest of your life in prison. You have no chance of ever seeing the light of day again. Perhaps you'll go to a mental hospital. If you're cured from your mental defect, then you'll go to a regular maximum security prison. I don't understand the point of what's about to happen, which I think is going to be a very involved hearing with experts talking about mental health and the effect on him and all these other outside factors. It just seems so simple to me, and maybe I'm just not looking at it in a lawyerly way. Maybe I should be looking at it through the eyes of an attorney. But just let's take common sense for a minute. Put him in jail for the rest of his life. Nobody has to suffer anymore. The judge can be done, the prosecutors can be done, and we can all go home and start moving on with our lives.
I agree, Adam, but that may be the New York lawyers in both of us in agreeing there, where Florida, as you said, operates a little differently. But we'll see as this sentencing phase continues for Nikolas Cruz. When we come back, we head to Wisconsin, where Chandler Halderson stands trial for the murder and dismemberment of his parents. What damning evidence investigators found while searching the family home. Welcome back to Law&Crime Daily. Experts take the stand in the case of Wisconsin versus Chandler Halderson, telling jurors that investigators found bone fragments in the family fireplace. Prosecutors say 23-year-old Chandler Halderson murdered his parents, 50-year-old Bart and 53-year-old Krista Halderson, in July 2021. After that, they say Halderson cut up their bodies and attempted to burn their remains in the family fireplace. Halderson is also accused of scattering body parts of their parents around southern Wisconsin. Halderson reported his parents missing to police and told a similar story to local TV stations. At the start of the week 2, experts told jurors the Halderson family basement and fireplace tested positive for blood spatter. On Tuesday, an arson specialist described what he found in the Halderson family fireplace and why the smell lingered with him.
Was there any sort of scent that made that gave you any impression or that raised your attention at all?
Yes, there was.
And tell me about that.
I equate that smell very often because I love to barbecue. It smells like barbecued pork oftentimes, or the grease that you would get from barbecuing a pork shoulder. And this is the smell that I associated with what I was gathering from inside that fireplace when I was down in front of it and working near it.
There's a white area in the middle of that burnt log. Did that at all catch your attention?
Yes, it did.
Why?
In looking at the burned piece of wood in the center and the white item that is present there at about the 6 o'clock position, before we moved this out of the fireplace, we took a look at it with some better lighting, and based on my training experience, that appeared to be bone, burned bone.
Adam, gory details out of the Chandler trial. I think a few people may stop barbecuing for a while. Is the defense doing anything to persuade the jury it wasn't him, though?
Nothing. No. In a longer form, no. They just haven't done anything yet. We'll see when it gets to the closing. This is just one of those cases that they're going to have to put it together in the closing and just point to the prosecution and say, look at their evidence. It didn't meet the burden of proof beyond a reasonable doubt. But my God, there is a lot of evidence, and there is only one logical suspect. So what they have to do is overcome logic. And have they done that yet? I don't think so. I've been watching along on this trial, listening to an officer today describe the searches that they did. I thought was really powerful testimony of going through and digging out the weeds and sifting through the weeds while they're searching the pond. They're laying their case, and we say this a lot, brick by brick. But I haven't seen the defense put any dynamite in that wall just yet.
Absolutely. Now, Terry, I have to assume that when or if Chandler gets convicted, these details are what's going to be the issue when it gets to him having the harshest punishment, right?
Absolutely. And I couldn't agree with Adam more. There's no question that this evidence is stacked up against this defendant. He is definitely guilty. It's not going to be if, it's going to be when. And when they find him guilty, it's a question of how long it's going to take them. But he is going to get the harshest penalty. He is now facing, obviously, first-degree intentional homicide. And in this state, he could serve the rest of his life in prison. So that's what I expect.
All right, we'll see how this continues. Thank you both. And thank you for joining us here on Law and Crime Daily. We'll see you next time as we discuss justice in America.